So I'm going to ask each of our panelists to just introduce themselves and maybe a minute about your company and what you do there, and then we're going to get right into the moderated panel.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I work at Meetup, so I'm the senior technical recruiter there. I've been in recruiting for a few years now. Prior to recruitment, I was in writing, so I kind of found my way into recruitment because of a passion. Prior to Meetup, I was at Amazon, working on the Amazon Echo and working on V1 products. So I kind of went from large company to small and kind of seen both sides of the market. So I'm really excited to share some information with you all today.
So we're going to try to keep this interactive. I believe Jamie sent you some questions. We're probably going to throw them out and come up with some new ones, so I hope you didn't prepare too much. For some of the questions, I'm going to ask an individual member of the panel. For others, I may ask the whole group. So we're going to mix it up. The first question is, and this is a topic that is really kind of fascinating to our team over at Crowded. The majority of the developers tonight and the majority of the developers in the Crowded platform are what we would label between junior and intermediate developers. And one of the issues that we see in the market today, and I think it becomes a difficult pain point for candidates in general, is they may apply for a role that says junior developer, and then it says on the bottom, oh yeah, you need 9 years of experience and a PhD. So that necessarily doesn't make that a junior developer role. So I'd love to start with Natalie. We go right down the panel. Just give me a really quick definition of what you consider a junior developer, please.
Sure. To add to yours, because I don't want to be redundant here. Also thinking about junior developers, they haven't had a chance to actually lead a project yet. So kind of thinking about the lines of maybe it's not the years of experience, maybe it's something that you just haven't led a project or haven't mentored other engineers.
So again, we're going to mix it up a little bit. I may call on one specific panelist, and then again, it's as a conversation. So we encourage you to disagree with each other, or especially you could disagree with me, as everyone else usually does, and then we'll kind of continue from there. I guess maybe Michelle from Meetup. You mentioned that you previously worked at Amazon, a little bit of a bigger company. But first of all, we should thank Meetup. Everyone say yay Meetup, because we're all here tonight because everyone registered on the Meetup platform. So it does work, which is awesome. So maybe a little bit about what it's like for a candidate. Maybe if you put yourself in the shoes of a junior developer, and what it's like to go through and interview and work for an Amazon versus more of a mid-sized or later stage company that isn't yet public like a Meetup.
Yeah, I'm slightly biased because I'm at Meetup now, but there's the pros and cons of any company, large or small. Not each, every single company is a little bit different in terms of structure and what you're going to get out of it. Our interview process is fairly similar in the sense of just logistics of how many rounds you go through. So essentially you go through a technical phone interview, which is normally 1 hour, and there's some real-time coding that happens in that first phone interview. And then that usually moves on to a full day of interviews, which is an on-site meeting with 5 to 6 engineers, maybe someone from HR, maybe someone from a product side or design side. And I think the major difference when it comes to the on-site process from a large company versus a smaller company like Meetup is that you're exposed to really pushing on to the culture, the things that you care about, the mission of the company. For us, we're very mission focused. At the same time, we care about technical evaluation. We want to know who we're hiring, not just what you can do. And so in terms of just kind of it's not necessarily an apples to apples comparison, but you should either way, whether it's a large company or a small company, you should know what you're getting into. So that recruiter, whoever you're talking to or whoever that first point of contact is, should be telling you what to expect ahead of you. So if they're not giving you that information, that's kind of a red flag, and really dig on that conversation then further.
So at the last Meetup, my question was the opposite of this one, and I don't think Mark liked my last question. I asked for each of our panelists to share, an experience that didn't go well. I basically said that someone on the intake looked great, they passed, with flying colors a coding challenge, whatever it was, and then within 90 days, I think everyone realized that it wasn't the right hire. So we're going to take it from maybe the more positive side today. So maybe if you could share either a story about maybe a recent hire, or maybe to frame what you'd love to see, again thinking about junior developers, on what sort of a great from sourcing all the way through onboarding experience for you would look like at your company.
Sure. I think my answer kind of combos from your previous question, but our last one that sticks out to me the most, I think really kind of bridges the gap for leadership too, as well as kind of this cultural contribution. And this person saw opportunities that were needed at Meetup and just ran with it, which is also kind of going back to larger company versus smaller company. If you see an opportunity and there's a need for it, you can just run with it, which is something that I really appreciated working at a smaller company. But this person saw an ability to create more of an inclusive environment and started creating basically task forces around that, and really starting the conversation, an active conversation around that with respect to tech, and started really advocating for more of an inclusive environment, which is something that really matters to us, and I'm sure with all the companies sitting up here too, in terms of technology. But just to see someone see that opportunity, run with it, as well as influence other engineers and other non-technical people, said something, is that they're contributing not just to the code, but to the culture, and really caring about their teammates and their well-being.
If there's any panelists, I won't go in a specific order, that maybe your company looks at bootcamp grads, or if you don't, that's perfectly fine too. It'd be great to kind of hear some of the way that you frame that, and maybe either sort of the pro or the con behind it. And again, any order you guys wish.
We do hire for boot campers. We applaud. There's a pivot in your career. I mean, you did it, I did it, and I think at the same time, it's telling your story as to what could have influenced you to pivot. But at the same time, thinking about all the hands that were raised in here that were boot campers or previous boot campers, the projects you're working on, you're probably working on similar projects like the rest of in the room. So when you're thinking about building your resume and portfolio, the projects you do in school, unfortunately, can't just be it that you put on your resume, because of how many other people might be doing the same project, whether successful or not. That's definitely something you can talk about, but I highly, highly encourage that if you are a boot camper, and I know the conundrum of you need experience to gain experience, and that's an unfortunate thing to hear, but building your own personal projects on the side in between while you're finding an internship or finding that full-time role is so important, because now you're differentiating yourself from the rest of the boot campers. So thinking about personal projects that are not about, it's not a poker app, it's not something very simplistic. Thinking about something that you're excited about, because that's going to tell us more about who you are, and that little just insight into who you are and how you think could definitely take you from being just another person on a resume to potentially getting a phone interview with an engineer or with the company itself.
So, a red flag, what's the one thing that everyone in this room should not say to you on the phone or an email? And it could be a very specific thing that kind of blew up a process that was actually looking pretty good to start, or something a little bit more general.
What I would say, if you're in an interview process and you think you've nailed the interview, and all of a sudden they go, "Do you have any questions for us?" And in your mind you're like, "I nailed this, I don't have any questions," and then you say nope, that's a red flag for us, because it shows that you're not naturally curious about the company, you're not naturally curious about the person you're talking to. And we get it, interviewing is not easy, it's kind of a skill in itself, but just having that kind of realness in that moment of, yeah, I'm actually curious about what you do, or tell me a little bit more about XYZ thing I read. That's just lie a little bit too. If you don't have a question, just come up with something on the spot, just so that way you can continue the conversation, and that way they get to know you back as well.
Just real quick, where is the coding challenge in your process in like one sentence so Joe doesn't yell at me?
Yeah, it depends on the role. So if it's an internship, usually it's after speaking with a recruiter. So you get this kind of cultural assessment, and then we move into the coding challenge. If it's a full-time role, for example, for mobile, it will be after speaking with an engineer for more of an abbreviated phone interview, and then we dive into a coding exercise. So it really depends on the role and then what leveling we're looking at.